one. Hey, everybody. Welcome to your favorite White Sox / baseball, because I am tired of always talking about the Sox and they're not winning podcast. The White Sox Did What? Where we bring you all things White Sox and sometimes a little bit of baseball here and there. Today, we have to start off super strong with finally some positive news for the season with our main man, the one I will admit I didn't believe in the beginning, and he shut me up. The last time a white man beat a black man down like this, slavery was legal. Because the way Crochet just showed up and showed out was so intense. Congratulations! Can we get like a? Where's our producer at? Can we get like a ovation of a bunch of people? Congratulations to Garrett Crochet for making his first All-Star. Is he starting? I haven't looked at the details. I was just like, wow, that is intense. That is awesome.
So that was an intro.
Okay.
Shout out to that intro, but yeah, props to Garrett Crochet. Right when we first started this show, back to the very first episode, when it was announced that he was going to be the opening day starter for the White Sox.
And we traded Cease right away. I think we're still in trauma from the Cease trade so fast.
I expressed major concerns with turning to Crochet as the opening day starter for this team and making him the de facto ace. You did as well. And he's done a great job in shutting all the doubters up and proving that he is a elite starting pitcher in this game. So props to Garrett Crochet being named to the All-Star team. He's been an elite starting pitcher this season. You made the case last episode that he's arguably the best pitcher in the sport right now. There's a ton of stats that can back up that claim. Strikeouts, whip. I mean, we can run down a laundry list of statistics that show Garrett Crochet has been a fantastic, dominant pitcher this season, and he's 25 years old. So props to him. Definitely deserves his flowers. Definitely deserves his credit for producing this year and making people like me and you and other people who doubted him eat those words. So
absolutely,
props to him. Big props to him. Props to the starting staff as well. The starting staff, even though there's no other all-star on this entire roster besides Crochet, the starting staff has performed well.
Yeah.
They've been consistent enough to keep the Sox in games despite the failures along the rest of the roster with the lineup, with the everyday position players.
God damn.
With the bullpen, with the closers, with the manager. But Crochet's carried the load, and the rest of the starting pitching staff has been good support for him. So, yeah, thumbs up for that.
Thumbs up. I just want to play a little YouTube small clip of, I think it was Grafal, announcing Crochet's All-Star intro.
I don't think I'm going to be able to disguise this one. As soon as I start talking, everybody's going to know what's going on. But this guy leads Major League in strikeouts per 9. He's 9th in the AL in ERA, 4th in the AL in average, 3rd in the AL in OPS, 3rd in the AL in WHIP, AL Pitcher of the Month in June, 3rd most strikeouts before the break in White Sox history, allowed 3 runs or less in 13 straight starts, lowest ERA in the major leagues since the start of May. When everybody on the planet thought that he was a reliever, he said, no, I'm a starter, okay? And not only are you a starter, you're one of the best, if not the best starting pitcher in Major League Baseball right now, and a Major League All-Star. Congratulations.
That was awesome. I never had Crochet as a reliever. I just didn't think he was the day one starter right after Cease got traded because, honestly, I didn't know who we were going to put at number 2. I actually liked Fetty at number 2 and then go down from there. But, little did I know that we had 2 aces, and for some odd reason, we still decided to trade one, and Thornton hasn't really made up for what we lost in Cease, but it is what it is. It is what it is.
Yeah, it is. I mean, who knows what this team would look like if you had Dylan Cease still around and Garrett Crochet pitching together at the top of your rotation. I mean, that's an elite 1-2 combination right there. If you had both of those guys putting in work, striking out opposing hitters, keeping scores very low, keeping games very close. I mean, we might be looking at a few more wins, to say the least. Now, I'm definitely not saying this team would have
at least 7 more wins.
At least, I mean, so the most frustrating thing in terms of the White Sox win-loss record, because again, I already highlighted that the starting pitching staff has been solid. Garrett Crochet has been, I mean, he's been terrific. So we already gave him credit there. But the fact, and this, literally, the fact is that the White Sox have blown 32 leads.
Insane.
32.
Have we won
15 of those blown saves have been after 6 innings. So that alone is evidence that this bullpen is destroying this team's chances of winning games. Like,
I could be off, but I think someone told me we're like 0-6 in extra innings because, you know, they have the new stupid rule. Anything past 9, you're putting a runner on second. And someone said we're like 0-6, 0-7. And it was so embarrassing. Like, we're that bad at extra innings with our relievers.
The White Sox bullpen is 29th in bullpen ERA. So I don't want to drown us in stats today, but that's the biggest weakness on this team, even more so than the offense right now. I mean, you had a lead in 32 ball games. You had a lead in 15 of those games after the 6th inning. If your bullpen was halfway adequate, you win at least half of those games. Like, I'm not saying you win all of them, definitely not. Not even the vast majority, but you can at least make an argument that you can win close to half of those ball games if your bullpen was competent. This bullpen isn't even competent. And it's really crippling this ball club right now. And it has been that way for the better part of the entire year. So, I mean, they can't escape it. They just can't escape how bad this bullpen is and how it's really destroying this team's chances of winning games. Again, that doesn't take anything away from the starting pitching staff. Definitely doesn't take anything away from Garrett Crochet. Who knows where we would have been if we had kept Dylan Cease over the handful of prospects that we got back in return. You have more W's on your ledger than you do right now. And you'd have a terrific pitching staff to build around towards the future. But the White Sox don't necessarily operate that way. That's unfortunate. So after giving Crochet his flowers, well-deserved flowers, again, we want to overstate that point, right? He deserves all the credit that he's going to get. He deserves to honestly start the All-Star game. Just based off of the stats and everything he's done, he deserves to be the AL starter.
I'm hoping he does, honestly. I don't see why he wouldn't start the AL.
I mean, who knows? But the trade rumors aren't going anywhere. The trade rumors are going to follow this team until the deadline officially comes and goes. I believe the teams that are most interested in Garrett Crochet, I want to say there's probably 3 or 4, and that's probably the Dodgers, the Phillies, the Yankees, and I think might be the Mariners. And there's other teams we could sprinkle in as well. Those damn Padres who keep trying to fleece us at every turn.
Yeah, we got to stay away from them. I'm getting
around as well.
Padres.
I'm sick to death of the Padres. I don't want any more deals with the Padres.
None.
I really don't. I mean, unless you're trading me Fernando Tatis Jr. and, sending us Dylan Cease back, then I don't want to talk about the Padres at all.
Facts.
But do you think one of those teams is going to emerge as the favorite and give the White Sox the prospect capital that they're looking for? I know you want major league players. You want 2 starters off the team. You want 5 prospects from the minor league system. Cash and draft picks.
I want Cade Cunningham from Detroit in the NBA. I want Patrick Mahomes. I want whatever can be put in to get Crochet, put it in there. I actually don't want to see him traded at all.
Yeah, sure, that makes sense.
Negotiations fell through. Apparently, is the issue. So it's looking more possible now. But at the same time, what do you expect from the best pitcher in baseball? Sox, you're not gonna discount him. You're not gonna lowball him and expect him to take a discount to stay on a losing team. You can't play that, hey, we're the ones who gave you a chance to shine card when the money's up. Like, he's doing what he's doing now, so he expects to get paid the same way.
He's got all the leverage right now.
Oh, he does. He does. What do you have? He had Tommy John surgery last year, right?
Yeah, Tommy John. Yep.
Yeah. So
Tommy
I can
John,
see
and he bounced back like a champ.
Oh, right. So the bounce back, I think, is the huge leverage he has. If once again contract talks don't go through, that's a tough one. It'll be contender, big spender contender, but at the same time, who's above 500? I could see the Dodgers trying to go after Crochet. Of course, San Diego's going to try again. Like, hey, sorry about fleecing you last time. Here's some other stuff we were hiding from you. I don't like trading with the same team twice. Like, why? So we're giving them basically a giant package of Cease and Crochet for a bunch of mid and maybe great player in Thorpe, maybe. Yeah, it'll be a National League team. I don't think Sox are trying to in any way help any of the American League teams at all.
So
Orioles
I hear you on that. What about Baltimore, though?
I was thinking about them. Historically, Baltimore doesn't really spend on outside guys, let alone pitchers. So
Yeah.
in a erase forget history format on MLB 2K video game, instantly. But in real life, that's just never been Baltimore's MO. It's more. I can see Atlanta Braves. I can see Mets. Mets do that thing every year where they go all out just to make their fans feel like they're keeping up with the Yankees, and then blow it up like a year later. I can see the Mets going after Crochet. Maybe Phillies, just to make sure they solidify a championship, because as good as their pitchers are, they're just having issues with consistency with Wheeler, Juarez, and mind you, they probably still have the best rotation in the league. But something about
the best team in the game.
That too. So I could see Phillies just to keep the momentum going and even put their foot on necks even harder. Brewers, Cards, especially Cards. Cards don't really have an ace. And hey, helping them beat the Cubs down more, I wouldn't be mad at it, but I don't want to lose Crochet to help them beat the Cubs down more. So but then again, Cards historically, again, they're one of those teams that if they do spend, because they do spend more than Baltimore, but they spend on hitting. They don't really spend on pitching. I think historically most of their pitching's in-house. So you just have to look at the historical teams that spend on pitching non-in-house in the NL specifically, in my opinion. And that kind of bogs down to Dodgers, Braves, Mets. We're not trading the Cubs. I don't think we are. I'd be so annoyed if we
That's
trade.
not going to happen. That team on the north side needs to be sellers, not buyers.
Absolutely.
So that's not.
And you know what? I can see Giants too, because they're on that gray area where they make that last push. But I can see them doing a rental for a year with Crochet. But then if they're doing a rental, we're not going to get a lot back for a 1-year rental. So yeah, just basically those things I mentioned. Dodgers, can't say Padres anymore because we already traded them. So Dodgers, yeah, I can see Cards. Can't really see Brewers, but they would really need Crochet. And Phillies and Braves and Mets. Phillies, Braves, and Mets. That's actually my picks right now. Those three: Philly, Braves, and Mets.
So I think, to me, I kind of got it tied as a toss-up. Honestly, I'm kind of stuck between the Dodgers and the Orioles. I can't really seem to get off of either one of those teams being the main one. Now, I could be shocked and they could trade him to a completely different team that I didn't just name, and it could be one of the teams that you picked out. But I think the Orioles have the best and most versatile prospect capital to offer. It's just a matter of if they're going to operate like a big market team that needs to try to compete in their window right now in the AL East, because the Yankees are in a tailspin, in a nosedive. They've been struggling. I think they're 6-16 or something like that in their last.
So you see White Sox trading within the league.
I can see it within the AL. It's possible, yeah. It just depends on, are you going to get back the prospect capital that you really need, that you're going to demand? Because the price tag for Crochet should be high, right? It should be as high as possible. Truthfully speaking, the number one target for every team at the trade deadline right now that's going to be after starting pitching is Garrett Crochet. He's the number one targeted player in the sport right now for any team that's looking to make a deal. I believe that 100%. So that makes it, as far as he's concerned, that makes it a seller's market. So you should be trying to get as much as possible back in return for him. You should be trying to maximize that. You should be trying to maximize that investment. I mean, it'd be great if the White Sox could keep him. It doesn't seem like that's going to be the plan. It's not in the cards. It seems like the plan is to trade him by the deadline. So you need to try to maximize that return, and hopefully you can get back somebody who can maybe become as good as Garrett Crochet. I mean, again, I've said it before. One of the things that the White Sox actually do well organizationally is develop starting pitchers. So, I mean, we traded away Dylan Cease before opening day, and then Crochet slid right in there as the ace, and has pitched as good as Cease ever did. So could the White Sox develop another ace level starting pitcher in the next 2 to 3 years? Is possible. It's very possible. I mean, we can go back in the list through history and look at all the starting pitchers that they've had. I mean, the White Sox had Ronaldo Lopez on their team as a starter at one point, and he's going to the All-Star game this year.
Facts.
So in terms of identifying pitchers, the White Sox are good at that. Doesn't mean I want them to trade Crochet away, but if they're going to do it, get back as much prospect capital as you can get, and the Orioles have terrific prospects to offer. The Dodgers also have terrific prospects to offer, and they are in the National League, so that falls right in line with what you prefer, would be to send Crochet to the other league so you don't have to see him as frequently, and you get away from him a little bit. Let him go to the NL, play on that team, and he'll reach whatever his full potential is. He'll reach it there for damn sure, because the Dodgers are great at developing talent all around, not just pitchers, but position players as well. So, and they don't have a problem spending money. Now, whether they keep him past this year or not, or jettison some other player from their rotation or team, they'll make that determination when the time comes. But to me, those are the two teams that I can't shake at the moment as far as a Crochet trade is concerned. That's kind of the way it feels like to me. I could be wrong, though.
I'm looking at the records now, and I feel like deadline trades are teams that are like, all right, we can take the division if we had just a little bit of extra. And I see the extra being, for example, even though historically they don't really go for big name pitchers, Brewers and Cards are separated by 5 wins. So I could see the Brewers getting Crochet to make sure the separation gets bigger, or Cards getting Crochet to see if they can kind of catch up and maybe even overtake the Brewers, who lead the NL Central. Dodgers are only up 6 games, and Glass now's out. I could see them panicking, like he said, and going after Crochet because, hey, Glass now's out. Ohtani isn't pitching this year. So if they can get Crochet, oh my God, that is going to be a nasty freaking
disgusting
rotation next year.
That'd be flat out scary.
Because I hear he's practicing, because he can't throw with his right now. I hear he's practicing with his left, which makes sense when you're getting paid $700 million. You're going to switch your arm and say, all right, what can this arm do? Because you're just getting paid that much. Of course, Padres want to fleece us again because they're right behind the Dodgers. But I will disown this team for the rest of the year if we traded both our aces to the Padres
To
and
the
we thought they
Padres.
had something better the second time around. Like, why didn't we get that the first time around? We're just letting
Man,
every team know that we don't know how to trade.
like, no, that's facts, because you can go back and trade with the same exact team and get prospects that you probably should have got the first time you traded with.
Yeah,
So
it's a double edged sword. We get
yeah,
worse the second time around. Like, why'd you make that trade? We get better the second time around. It's like, wow, you guys really did get fleeced the first time. It's a lose lose. So we can't trade the Padres.
yeah, not the Padres. At this
No.
point, anybody but the Padres. I need a T-shirt printed out that says trade with anybody but the Padres
Facts.
and the North Side team. Don't trade with the North Side team.
Facts. And then Phillies and Braves kind of have pretty big leads, 59 wins and 50 wins. So I can see no one's really hurt on the Braves rotation for them to be like, all right, come on, Crochet. But and they've got a strong four in Freed, Sale, Lopez, and I know I'm missing somebody. I forget who the fourth is, but yeah, they could fit Crochet in there. Yeah, I'm leaning for some odd reason. I'm just leaning Braves because with Wheeler out, Braves have a chance. Hey, we might be able to catch up and catch that lead. They're not going to have Wheeler for at least 2 weeks. We might slide in there and see what we can take as far as lead share, and it would make sense to have Crochet in the playoffs versus a team like the Phillies. I could see the Braves. I can definitely see the Braves going after the Crochet. That's actually that's my pick. The Braves or the Mets. Those two teams. Cards and Brewers are just the pipe dream. They really don't ever go after big money pitchers like the Yankees do. It's Braves or Mets are my two.
Okay, I'm not mad at that. I'll still stick with the Orioles only because I like the prospect capital that they can offer. My preference would be to send him to a National League team, though, just like you. So I agree with you there. I'm still going to stick with the Orioles just because of the prospects that they can offer. I mean, they should be able to offer up a ton of minor league players that are going to be blocked for a time being anyway. Like the Orioles aren't going to be able to call up or keep all the guys that they have. They have to make trades at some point. They don't even have a choice. So to me, it kind of makes sense. And if you can, and I doubt that this is going to happen, but the number one rated prospect right now is Jackson Holiday. The Orioles did call him up and he did struggle. So let's be perfectly honest about that.
I saw that. I saw that.
He struggled for a while, but he plays second base. He plays shortstop. The White Sox need somebody at either one of those positions. So positionally, he can come in right away for this team and fit right in at either one of those spots, and let the growing pains happen, and you just let him grow and live and die with whatever occurs. And then they also have a third base, first base prospect, Kobe Mayo. I'd want him in the deal as well. He's in the top 15 prospects in the top 100. I'd go after him. Then there's also a Samuel Basallo in the Orioles as well, first base catcher. Any combination of those two or three in terms of a trade package, I think can be solid. And then you would get, you're going to get lesser prospects as you go down the list. But they're not going to give you all three of those guys. But
why not? They're getting the best pitcher. Again, why I think baseball trades are so stupid. Why not? They're getting the best pitcher in baseball. We better get all that. And they better call Lamar Jackson because I want him too. Like,
I agree with you. I agree with you. I want Lamar Jackson as well. Give me Ray Lewis to come and be a mascot at Bears games and all of that. I want
John and Jim Harbaugh.
You know what I'm saying?
One of them don't even coach the Ravens. I want him too. Put him in the package.
I want them to make a remake of The Wire and film it in Chicago. So give me all of that. I don't necessarily think the Orioles are going to do that, but the White Sox should still ask, right? Ask for every damn thing. Ask for all of the prospects. Because like you said, if you're getting back what you say is the best pitcher in the sport, then give me everything. Ask for the sun, moon, and the stars, and make them tell you no. Right? Ask for their top 3 or 4 prospects in their whole system, and make the Orioles say no, we aren't going to do that, and talk you down. But I'm not coming in with a low bid and just agreeing to anything. Like I want your best. I want your top notch. I want your super elite prospects that you and everyone else believes can be great. That's what you should be asking for. You shouldn't be coming in asking for mid-tier prospects and settling for less. You should be asking, not even asking, you should be demanding the top prospects that they have. Because again, currently it's a seller's market. There's a fistful of playoff teams that are chasing after Garrett Crochet. If you, Baltimore, don't want to give up your best prospects, the Dodgers will, the Braves will, the Phillies will, the Mets will, the Yankees will. Somebody gonna give up these top tier prospects to get Garrett Crochet for a pennant chase. It's going to happen.
Yankees absolutely will. I'm shocked they have any prospects left. How much they go after.
The Orioles should want to be the ones to fortify their rotation for the playoffs.
But they don't
a
move like the
left-handed
Yankees.
starter like Crochet right now is gold in the playoffs.
Orioles are old school and traditional. They just do not move. So I mean, I'm not mad. I'm not mad at that take.
Right.
I'm just looking historically, like what is going to make them say, "Hey, Baltimore fans, you know what?
I agree with you. Yeah, I agree with you. I think they are a little old school in their thought process and in how they run their organization, because the Orioles really haven't been a top quality playoff team in recent memory for quite some time. So, I mean, they've been not in the basement of their division forever and ever, but I mean, they've been the bottom 2-3 teams in their division for quite a while. It's always been the Yankees and the Red Sox battling it out.
You know, they remind me of, if they were to pull the trigger, they could be what Houston has been the last decade. Because Houston, their hitters are what they've grown in house, but a lot of their pitching is outsourced. They'll bring in the Scherzer, they'll bring in the what's his face, the top, I forget his name, the top pitcher on Detroit. My mind is going blank, but you know what I'm talking about. They'll bring in the top pitchers in free agency if they can get them. So yeah, Baltimore needs.
Talking about Verlander when he went.
Yeah, sorry, Verlander, because I believe he was drafted to Detroit, and then
he got traded to Houston. Yeah, he got traded to Houston.
So Houston, they're Orioles, but more efficiently ran. So I think Orioles need to look at what Houston's doing, because the way they've been going, sure, they're kind of good now, but I just like to say out loud, what's the definition of insanity? Doing the same thing over and over and expecting a different result. If you have been doing it this way forever and nothing's been happening, switch it up a little bit. Yankees are justified in forgetting about the prospects and just buying up the block. Same with Dodgers, because they've won doing that. That's how they win. That's the only way they know. Houston's justified in the kind of hybrid old school way that they've been doing things, because that's how they won. They can't just buy up the block like the Yankees. Orioles, they seem just to be going the same route they've always been, and they're kind of good now. They've got strong hitters and kind of have shaky pitching, in my opinion, outside of the first 2 guys who, in my opinion, aren't aces. They'd probably be number 2 or number 3 rotational guys on every other team. Their pitching's not that deep, but they have great closers. They might have the best closers in the league, but you need a rotation. Or let me not say rotation. You do need that ace to have a chance in the playoffs, in my opinion. You don't necessarily
know who you are organizationally. Like you have to know what your strengths and weaknesses are as an organization. The White Sox, their weaknesses are apparent and obvious and have plagued them for the longest time. They traditionally had a weak farm system to build from that hasn't had a lot of depth throughout. Occasionally, they'll have a lot of top-heavy players in their system that they'll call up, and those players can produce well for you for a stretch. But because the depth is never there, and because they never spend to insulate and support their teams, they always end up kind of in the middle of the pack. And Jerry doesn't go big or go home at the trade deadline, so their good starts always tend to fizzle out, and they end up either last place, second to last place, or just kind of in the middle. That's what Jerry Reinsdorf actually wants. He wants his team to sort of finish second, third place every year, because in his mind, it creates just enough hope and anticipations to keep fans interested in coming to the ballpark and watching on TV, so he can get the money from the ticket sales. But he doesn't necessarily want first place finishes and playoff pushes, because he doesn't want to spend the money for that. So he doesn't want to spend money to make even more money. He wants to spend as little as possible and try to squeeze as much money as he can out of spending as little as possible.
Facts.
To expand that out further organizationally, again, teams like the Yankees always know, yeah, we can have a good system, but if push comes to shove and we need to trade away these players out the system, we'll do that. If we got to spend $300 million, we'll do that. If we have to always be at the top of the market, we'll do whatever it takes to get the best players. The Dodgers, the same way. But the Dodgers are very well-rounded and insulated in everything that they do. They always have a top-tier farm system. They always develop well. They always have great coaching staffs and a solid manager in place. And they have no problem spending money, making trades. So their team is always at the top every year. They may not win it every year, but they're always going to be competitive every year, because in every facet, they hit well, they draft well, they develop well, they trade well, they sign the best players well, they do everything. So organizationally, you have to know where your strengths and weaknesses are. You have to evaluate those things. To your point, what the Orioles need to do is they need to understand where their strengths are, and they need to evaluate those properly. Right now, their strengths have been that they built a pretty damn good farm system for themselves that has depth throughout the system. What they need to do now, though, is they need to make sure that they elevate and support their team right now in their window. So you have to do that via trade. You can't have small-minded thought processes right now. You're at the top of the AL East. You're above the Yankees. You're above the Red Sox. Make your moves before they can recover and get ahead of you again. So when the playoffs start, if you're out of starting pitcher, you're going to be SOL. And if you let a team like the Yankees get him, or you let a team like the Mets get him, you're going to see what he does on those other rosters come October, and you're going to be scratching your head when you out in the first round. Because
do you think their top bat heavy teams do win sometimes, but it's far and few between? Do you think they're looking at the Rangers last year, who were all – they didn't really have the best rotation. They did have Scherzer, but Scherzer wasn't Scherzer in playoffs. He was half of what he was. I think he was playing injured. But it's a team of hitters and great closers, and the rotation was kind of weak, and they still won it all. I was shocked. I didn't, even when they made it to the finals, I didn't have them winning it all. So they pulled through. But they're kind of built how the Orioles are now, with hitters and closers, no real strength in the rotation. Again, even though they didn't have Scherzer, but Scherzer was, he was playing injured or something, because he was terrible during the last quarter of the season in playoffs.
Well, I mean, if your guys get hot and they can carry you, so be it. I mean, if you can make it happen without making a trade for Crochet, more power to you, right? You got to keep all of your prospects. You didn't have to make any trades. Your homegrown talent all stepped up in October, and you carried it all the way to a World Series championship. If that happens for the Orioles, kudos to the Orioles for having a great evaluation and carrying it out to the end. Do I necessarily believe that's going to happen? I don't. But I mean, I'm not a fortune teller, so we'll see what the heck happens. But to transition for a little bit, right? Because we talked a lot about Crochet. We talked a lot about possible trades for him at the deadline and his All-Star berth. What about Luis Robert? Does Luis Robert get traded as well?
I think he gets traded before Crochet.
Before Crochet?
I think he gets traded before Crochet. I think
Okay.
everyday hitters are valued a little bit more, but he is injury prone. And I think
that was going to be my point right there.
And I think teams like that for him.
The injuries have definitely sort of, I guess, put a dark cloud over Robert just a little bit. He was an all-star last year. He had a terrific year. He was getting off to a good start this year until he got hurt. And that definitely put like I said, a dark cloud over his season. I don't think he's necessarily recovered. He's had great moments at times.
He pinch hit for because they walked Aloy yesterday in extra innings, which pissed me off. But I think he pinch hit for DeJong, and I was wondering what is going on. Why is he pinch hitting? He should be in the rotation. But that's a Luis. That's a Grafal issue. Why he needs to go. Like if Robert was healthy, why isn't he in the rotation? We lost. We had to go into extra innings, and we lost. When who knows what we would have done? What we could have done if Robert was starting from the beginning. Like he didn't come into like the 8th inning, which I'm glad I didn't bet that game on FanDuel. But I'd have been pissed if I picked DeJong, and then all of a sudden Robert comes in to place hit, and DeJong doesn't get his next at bat. It's like, wait, Robert's healthy? Why hasn't he been in the whole time? I don't know what Grafal is doing, but
I mean, it's baseball, so guys get rest days on occasion.
Is it even a rest if you still come in anyway? You might as well have came in.
No, I feel you on that, but yeah, they'll give guys just days off just throughout the course of the year, just because, and then based on the game situation, yeah, you might put him in the pinch hit just to say, hey, go in and swing the bat and see if something magical happens. But again, like I said, Robert he's had some terrific moments at times this year. He's had some unfortunate, confounding moments at times this year. We didn't get a chance to necessarily discuss this last week. The last episode, we did discuss potential trades for Robert, but the game he had against Cleveland, where they basically lost at the end of the game, Robert was brilliant and at the same time terrible. So I want to say that the White Sox were losing that, or they lost the game 7-6. Luis Robert had 2 hits, 4 RBI, had a home run in the game. He was basically their whole offense, right? I mean, he pretty much did everything. So he gave you great defense in the outfield, and he was responsible for 4 runs being put on the board. You lost 7-6. Part of the reason you lost that game is because your boy Michael Kopech came in at the end to try to hold on, to try to see if they can steal a victory or go into extras. And he made a mistake on the pitch. He tends to do that. The ball
is the Kopech era over?
Yeah, it's the Kopech era is tending towards being over. Yes. But
at this point, I'm not shocked if he doesn't get extended.
Yeah, I'm sure they were hoping he could pitch well and they could throw him in a trade package as well, but that's likely not going to happen. But he gave a pitch. The ball got hit towards Robert in center field. He wasn't capable of making the catch in the air, so he let it drop. But he didn't make a play. He didn't throw home at all. So the runner just came in. Everybody scored. The game ended right there, 7-6. Like, you could have at least tried to make a play to try to throw the guy out. You're probably not going to be successful at it. He probably still scores, but just the fact that you didn't even attempt to throw home is just evidence of Luis Robert just kind of having some confounding moments at times this season. So there's been a lot of good. There's been some bad. when you factor in the injuries, that kind of leads teams to being a little more shaky on Robert than you would have thought at the beginning of this season when we started talking about him, and even on the last episode when we discussed it.
I mean, he's been elite in my opinion as a fielder for a while. His hitting.
I mean, he's a Gold Glover. He's
a five-tool
player.
Field. How many five-tool players are in the league? It's like
no, that's facts. But
maybe
when you
10
factor
of them?
in, I don't even know if it's that. But when you factor in the injuries, and when you factor in plays like what I just mentioned, I don't necessarily think he's going to be traded before Crochet, and I don't think you're going to get back the same level of prospect talent for Robert that you could get in return for Crochet. So I'm on the opposite end. I don't think he gets traded as quickly as you do, or if at all. He might be the guy that gets traded.
Here are my two comps for each player. My ceiling for Crochet and my comp is Sale. You get a younger Sale. Both are lefties. Yep. Both throw heat. This is what you want. And they come from a White Sox pitching pedigree that we just crank out aces, and even our scraps are killing still in the league of old pitchers that we don't mess with anymore, from Lopez on down to what's his face, Durand on Texas to left-hander on Mets. My names are just going out the window for me today. And then Luis Robert comp, I actually have Ronald Acuna, Mookie Betts light. Both of those are five-tool guys. Both of those are good, about 30 home runs, 100 RBI guys. Great defenders in their outfield. I think if you're going to sell Robert, you have to sell the Mookie Betts, Ronald Acuna comp, which I think he is, but he's just not as developed as they are right now. But I wouldn't be shocked to say he's on his way because, again, he is a five-tool guy with a cannon arm, great defense, especially when he, in the past, remember when we, for some unknown reason, played Eloy in the outfield, it was pretty much Robert covering center field and left field, and Eloy just standing there. So I think because of those comps that I see him as, because I don't really see a comparable player in a lot. I'm looking up and down around these positions, around these left fielders, center fielders, and it's like, oh man, he is Mookie Betts. He is Ronald Acuna 5 years ago. He's Mookie Betts on the Red Sox before the final 2 years of his Red Sox tenure. He's Ronald Acuna 3-4 years ago. So I actually see Robert growing and growing. I don't want to trade him either. But if we're going to, we have to trade to those comps because teams, of course, nobody wants to trade a haul and a package for anybody because they don't want to lose a lot. But what did because I don't think Betts was a free agent. What did Red Sox end up getting for Betts in trading Roger and trading Betts to Dodgers?
He was definitely a trade. I'd have to look it up.
But whatever that comp was,
he was definitely a trade.
I think whatever that comp was, I'm not saying that exact package because Betts is definitely at a higher tier a little bit then, but something similar to that because you're basically getting your version of Mookie Betts, which every team wants. So we have ours.
So I still think Mookie Betts was and is a better player than Luis Robert, but
absolutely.
The Red Sox traded Betts to the Dodgers for David Price, Alex Verdugo, Jeter Downs, Connor Wong. And the Dodgers paid the rest of his salary.
Okay.
So that's not the greatest trade package. Verdugo was solid, decent. David Price had a solid career. So that's not a trade that necessarily blows anybody away, particularly speaking. Wasn't a bad trade at all by any stretch, I wouldn't say. So, I mean, and again, the Red Sox eventually won another World Series without Mookie Betts, didn't they?
No. I think the last year of their win was with Mookie.
Was that the last time they won it?
Yeah, I think the last win was with Mookie. And like, I think he might have got World Series MVP too. I got to look it up, but I'm pretty sure he was on the team, and that like on the world stage elevated him. Robert doesn't really get a world stage because we suck. But it's like, yo, who is this 5-tool guy the Red Sox have that's leaving the Red Sox that everyone wants?
So, yeah, I wouldn't necessarily put Robert on the same level as Mookie Betts then or now, but I do understand what you're saying in terms of it being a 5-tool caliber player. I'm of the expectation at this point right now, and things are fluid. They can always change. I mean, by the time we do the next show, he could be traded. You never know. But right now, I'm going to say Robert does not get moved at the deadline unless they get blown away. I expect him to get moved in the offseason, in the winter meetings.
He's not getting paid next year, right? Because I think that was also a big part of the Red Sox paying Mookie, and Dodgers like, oh, we'll pay him and we'll give you a bunch of stuff. If he's not supposed to get paid soon, because Crochet's issues, the contract negotiations fell through, and they're going to restart it. I don't remember hearing anything about Robert's contract situation.
No, I don't think there's any contract updates with Robert. I think he's got like 2 more years left.
Oh yeah, so I doubt he gets traded. It would be a luxury for us to trade him for no reason. But with the way this management's going, I can see them doing something stupid like that. Let's trade these guys for no reason and tell everyone we just want to get younger.
Like you said, with the way management is going, I mean, it's at this point it's a fire sale, right? Because once you do actually trade Garrett Crochet, at that point you're waving the white flag, right? You're basically saying everybody must go after you trade Crochet. There's no reason to keep anyone else. He's been.
What do you mean? The point of a fire sale is to get rid of expensive. It's like what Bulls should have been doing with Zach, DeMar, Vuk. If you're not winning and you've got all this money tied up in these stars and you can't win, you can't make the playoffs, let alone win in the playoffs. Right. Then you fire sale because you want to get younger, better for cheaper. If we already have better, younger right now for cheaper, what are we doing trading the better, cheaper right now, which is Robert? Crochet's about to get paid, but he deserves it. And honestly, we should keep Crochet and build around that because you're going to have something to build around. And right now, Thorpe isn't it. Even Fetty, as much as I like him, and there is an actual like chance meter of reserves that can make the All-Star. He's on there. I don't think he's a number one right now at all to even
no, not.
Yeah. So it's keep Crochet, build up the closers, and I can't see why we can't win our division next year or the year after with better closers. Because too many games we had the lead where honestly we should be at 500 right now if we had better closers. Then you add Cease and Health, and we're probably a playoff team. That's just me. The road to playoffs. Well,
0 to 100 real quick right there. You
absolutely.
Yeah, you went all the way there. So on the last show that we did, you did a win-loss projection, right? We both did. I had the White Sox going 2-8 over 10 games of the last show. You had them going 10-0. So we were both wrong.
9-1, but we ended up winning the one loss, and then I was like, all right, fuck it, 10-0.
So, Sox game got postponed today because of weather. They'll do a doubleheader tomorrow. So, over the next 10 games, what are you seeing over the next 10 games? Play the Twins tomorrow in a doubleheader, and the Sox have not beaten the Twins yet all season. I think they're 0-8 against Minnesota.
I think we split tomorrow. So it goes 1-1.
So I can see that. I think I agree. I mean, doubleheaders tend to end up being splits regardless of what the talent level is. So I can potentially see that as well, getting one of those games.
And then
after that, we got 3 against Pittsburgh at home.
We got our best 3 outside of Fetty. We got Crochet, Cannon, and Flexen against Pittsburgh. We got Thorpe and Fetty against you know what? I'm looking at this and I'm like, fuck it. We got our rotation back. Let's go 1, 2, 3, 4. I'm going 5-0. 5-0.
Okay, so
break. Fetty beating Obear, Thorpe beating Lopez. It should be a little tricky. Crochet is probably going to go up against Skeens for Pittsburgh. Now that's a guy having a rookie of the year campaign.
Nobody's scoring in that game.
Man, that game can end 1-0.
Nobody's scoring. It's going to be 0-0 in the bottom of the 8th inning. Nobody's scoring.
Then you got Cannon versus Keller, and I think Flexen versus who's the other guy on the Pittsburgh Royals? I think his name's King. Is Keller the number 2? Yeah, I don't know the third guy on the rotation on Pitt, but it doesn't matter. I see us winning with Flexen. Yeah, really I see 5-0. 5-0. All the games are at home. We don't have to go anywhere. Today counts as a little break for us because before that, we haven't had a break. Again, with these schedules, we haven't had a break since the 1st. So this is like the first Sox break in a long time today. So they're getting rested. Yeah, I can see it's 5-0. How about you? Next 5 games.
So I'm gonna actually go 2-3. Yeah, I'm gonna go 2-3 over the next 5.
Okay.
Split against Minnesota. Take 2 of those games against Pittsburgh. So I'll go 2-3 over the next 5, and then the next stretch of games. There's 3 on the road against the Royals, and then 4 games in Texas.
I don't want to speak on those until the All-Star break's over, because I want to see because the rotation isn't set yet. Everything's going to be kind of like a fresh restart. Everyone gets a week. But I will say recently we have been hitting better than we did in the first half. 6 runs last game, even though it went to extra innings. We consistently at least 4 runs in every game, but 2 the last 10 games. We even had a game versus Colorado where we scored 11 runs. It's like who is this? 11 runs? No, this ain't the Sox.
The offense hasn't been as bad as it was at the start of the year, like you said. But again, the biggest problem with this team is the bullpen. I mean, you can't escape it. Like
last time they came
can't get away from it.
They keep coming through for Thorpe, ironically, which is so strange. For everyone else, they fail, but they come through for Thorpe. But I will say we did have a what the hell just happened. I think that was actually our last pod episode versus Sale, the one-off makeup game in Atlanta, and we won 1-0. I was like, what just happened? Did Sox beat Sale 1-0?
That was unexpected. What was also unexpected was giving up that lead that they did to the Marlins once again. Like
every game we've lost because we had the lead and we gave it up last 3 innings.
And it just goes right to the stat that I listed out earlier. Like it's absurd. I mean, the Sox were up, I think it was 4-1 in like the 6th inning or something like that. And so again, 15 games they've had the lead after 6 and have lost. And they got walked off by former White Sox, Jake Berger, and you end up losing that game. So the bullpen has really just crushed this team. Same thing against the Twins. Like even if you score runs, the bullpen is killing you. But I see 3-2 over the next 5. And like you said, since the trade and everything will be in flux and the pitching staff's not set yet, we can hold off in the next 5 and we'll see what happens with that. But
speaking of hitters, I know we talk about how our former pitchers are out killing. Our former hitters outside of Berger, they have been absolutely horrible.
Oh yeah, the former hitters, because honestly, Berger's not having a good season either. So
it is.
Former hitters are not hitting well at all.
How did we make playoffs? 2 seasons ago? Like, what is happening? They are all about to be out the league. Like, we can develop pitchers, but god damn, our hitting's embarrassing when they go to other teams.
Organizationally, the White Sox historically have not been good at developing position players. It is what it is. That's why you got to know what your strengths and weaknesses are, man. If you aren't good at developing position players, you better trade for them. You better go sign them in free agency. If you can't develop them consistently on your own, go find them elsewhere. Let some other team develop the position players, and you just go sign them or trade for them. Because you already know they're going to be good.
I was gonna say take roids, but that's a good strategy. That's why I can't be a manager.
take roids, take blue chew, take whatever you need. Just hit home runs. That's all that matters.
All right. Before we leave, because I know the pod is slowly about to end. Just want to do some stuff where we talk about other teams too. I want to talk about the box scores just a little bit. Cincinnati's beating Colorado 11-4. Houston's beating Miami 4-3. Pittsburgh is stomping on Milwaukee 12-2. I don't know how that happened. Scherzer is helping be. I'm glad he's back. He's made me so much money in the past. 4-3. Blanco's on Houston. Atlanta. I don't know who's pitching today on Atlanta, but they're up on Arizona 2-0. Seattle is beating San Diego. Seattle is a surprisingly good team. They're above 500. I don't know how, but they're still one of the worst hitting teams in the league and still have one of the highest strikeout rates. And Snell versus I think his name is Yakushi. That just started, and I'm never going to talk about the Cubs box score. You're going to have to tune into the Cubs podcast for that, folks. And
do they have one?
They had a game today. I'm not going to talk about the game. I'm always going to say they lose. You said what?
Do they have a podcast? Was my question.
Yeah, it's called Boys Town Bangers.
Yeah,
with Payday and who Q. I think Quentin's a Cubs fan. It's called Boys Town Bangers with Vince and Q. Tune in today and watch us bend over and tell you all about the Cubs and spreading. Hey. And Yankees Yankees are they're getting healthier, but they're losing more. I don't get it. They're still well above 500, but again,
nobody's hitting. That's the problem. If your name isn't Aaron Judge on the Yankees offensively, you're struggling because he's the only one that's producing runs.
Yeah, Stanton and Rizzo are injured, and they keep changing the rotation like literally every 3 games. And I'm like, what is going on over there? And Dodgers got destroyed by the Phillies. Zach Wheeler once again killing, but he got injured also while he was killing, which is I can't depend on any Phillies pitchers. And Mets Quintana again ex-Sox put the works on Washington, and they won 7-5. And a bunch of postponed games that'll probably be made up tomorrow. And that's it for a quick overall box score of the games of the day. Other teams. What else? You got anything for the bulletin board, JJ3?
For the who?
Bulletin board. Final, whatever.
Bulletin board, no. What's going on as far as bulletin? I'm gonna transition that super quick into the Chicago Bulls.
Okay.
Who are tanking. Into the
Are we tanking?
The Bulls better be tanking.
I feel like you don't give Pat Williams $75 million or whatever, and you're tanking.
I feel like if you're giving Patrick Williams any money, you're tanking.
Because just let him go and go for the what's his face Cooper Hawk.
You might lose more games by keeping Patrick Williams than by letting him go. So,
I mean, he's a defender. He's just not a scorer. He's slowly turning into a 3-and-D guy.
Able to produce offensively. He's shown nothing to be worth the contract. So I don't know, man. We might be better at doing the Bulls podcast than they are. Hold on.
So, look at his 3-point percentage. He is slowly turning into a 3-and-D guy. I actually am more pissed Caruso left because that's another 3-and-D guy than DeMar. DeMar was him and Jimmy Butler have a thing where they making layups look extra hard. And him and Zach LaVine, no spacing, crashed into each other, never had good games at the same time. I'm not mad we moved DeMar, but I'd rather have. Well, he was a free agent, so we didn't move him. But I would rather.
Shout out to the DeMar era, though, right?
No playoff wins
for the DeMar DeRozan era.
I think let's start here. To have an era, you have to be the best person on the team. Like Adrian Dantley didn't have an era on the Pistons. There was no Adrian Dantley Pistons era. It was Isaiah Thomas era, and Adrian Dantley came along last couple of years. I think you have to be the best on the team to have an era. No one ever says Pippen era. They say Jordan era.
Doesn't your era also have to have a defined aspect to it? Something that you can rest your hat on, rest your laurels on.
Absolutely
call it an era.
Nope. Era is you either are there more than, I believe, 5 years to have an era and be the best on the team. But if you're going to be there under 5 years, then you have to have a defining moment. Like, did you win a championship? Did you win a league MVP? And did you stay on the team and weren't a 1 year mercenary like a one and done freshman in college? Like Claw, he doesn't get an era. Pascal
No.
Siakam gets an era in Toronto, but Claw came in and led them to the championship. DeRozan gets an era in Toronto. Vince Carter gets an era in Toronto because of their length of time being there. But yeah, sadly, if DeMar stayed, then he maybe can get an era if he just consistently becomes the best player on the team, especially if we're going to move Zach. But since Zach is technically still here, as much as people don't like to hear this, this is Zach's era.
Let's end the Zach era super quick too. Let's
if we can trade him
off season.
We're trying to trade him and his fine wife. But if we can trade
him, let's end the DeMar DeRozan era and simultaneously the Zach LaVine era at the same time and celebrate both of them being gone accordingly.
Absolutely. All right. Well, this is a Sox podcast, so we can't talk too much about the Bulls, even though we might be better at the Bulls than the Bulls podcast. Hey, so that's just me.
Hey, I'm just saying we might be better at their show than they are. I'm just
absolutely.
All right. Yeah, man, we good. Send us home. I think we're good for the people.
All right, everybody. With that being said, thank you so much for watching another episode of The White Sox Did a What and the Cubs Suck. All right. See you guys later. Bye.
Peace.